AD4 News. My name is Lilian Ogazi. A cross-section of Nigerians have called for the establishment of more unity colleges and universities across the country to foster national integration and national building amongst Nigerian children. The call was made at a recent event in Abuja. They also decried the lack of funding and poor infrastructures as the cause of the decay in our unity schools.
It should be disunity or non-unity. Their unity must always be maintained, because what makes us to be great is because we are like this. The day we divide into 3 or 4 or something, none of the 4 will be important.
One thing that should be done is funding. Then the staffing in there. And then we should remember that education is the engine room of social, political, and economic growth and development.
Yes, we're saying we need more unity schools. I don't think more unity schools will solve the problem. We already have enough. But what are the universities doing? The universities have lost their universality. They are no longer university, where people come from everywhere with different ideas, different knowledge to be there. University has been reduced to local government institutions, where the vice chancellor must come from that local government and every other person. Before the universities sought for experts here and there.
Of educationists in Nigeria have blamed policy inconsistencies and somersault as the major causes of the decline in the quality of education in the country, which has resulted in the erosion of our value system in the country.
First, we need to have continuity and consistency. Continuity in the sense that what was wrong with A-levels, that they have to scrap it. Where are we rushing to? Jobs are not there. So why do we rush these students out of secondary school straight to the university? I know what I gained going to.
If you look at in times past, our value system, we all are here. We were together 40 years ago. And I can beat my chest and say that we are all well-behaved people. We live in peace. We live in harmony, we are tolerant of one another, we are cooperative in our approach to things. Because if we do not have those values, we wouldn't be here, sitting here in this hall today. But what do we have now? Our value system is completely wrecked. Our children do not, they don't value anything when it comes to value system. Peaceful coexistence, tolerance, patience, and then you see them engaging in all sorts of ills.
One day you wake up, C75, next one, 3485. It's so many confusion, and where we are borrowing all these things from, they are very consistent. Over 50 years in England, you will not do anything if you don't get your A-level, and they are not changed now. So I think one of the things we need to do from us is to start doing that one from politics in the house. Let's realize our own.
Thank you.
The decline in our educational system has raised alarm amongst Nigerian students and teachers as well. Nonso Irene Zechi has the details.
Education is the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits. It is the act or process of impacting or acquiring general knowledge, developing the powers of reasoning and judgment, and generally of preparing oneself or others intellectually for matured life. The education sector should be paid lots of attention because it gives room for the country's development. Unfortunately, the quality and standard of education in Nigeria is poor because it has not been paid adequate attention. Funding of education at all levels in Nigeria is inadequate and needs to be addressed. At the tertiary level, this has been addressed by the federal government with the creation of Tertiary Education Trust Fund. Even at that, the rot in the subsector is much that the agency cannot solve all the problems therein. The situation in primary and secondary level is even more deplorable. The question one may want to ask, therefore, is, what is the current state of education in Nigeria? Here are the views of some students.
Our system of education is purely low. The environment which we study and every other thing, I think most of the tertiary institutions have been privatized by some of our government officials, which is not helping the matters between the, bringing a kind of a barrier between the rich and the poor.
To me, the Nigerian educational system, it's really on the bridge. We haven't reached where we're supposed to be as at now compared to other nations or other continents.
The Nigerian youths are unemployed. Why? Due to the bad state of the education system in Nigeria. You can see most universities in Nigeria do admit students that at least they will set it up to like 100 due to lack of universities. Like for instance, now here in the faculty, I can say that in the faculty here, just only selected like few students which are in a class like 85 or so, which is bad and wrong, because I've seen that every student should be given a chance.
I think the Nigerian educational system, on a personal note, is not where it's supposed to be. Actually, it's not what is expected to be at this point in time.
We should have a proper system. I think if the environment is conducive enough and if the lecturers are retrained, in the sense that like let them have different orientations, like these guys are coming to school to learn, to develop a skill. Okay, for instance, I have my background in economics. If as an economist, I should be able to come up with policies that work, that could contribute to the bottom line of an organization or even the government if I'm working in the government setting.
As everyone knows, educational system in Nigeria is vice versa. You know, sometimes, I don't know, there is different challenges on educational system. Sometimes you see that most of the poor, they find it difficult to find themselves in education, and the way private schools, I don't know how to put it, private schools in the educational system was dominating everywhere, and we masses, we find it difficult, seriously. Everyone knows that we find it difficult, and most of the cases, we the masses, if we are in the schools, you know, most of the cases they find it difficult in terms of paying their school fees, challenges of houses, whatever, as you know, seriously.
Many seem to agree to the view that people go to school basically for certifications to advance in their place of work and not for the search for true knowledge. This brings rise to our self-assessment as Nigerians by us asking where we are coming from, and where we are going to. Let's hear from some Nigerians their stance on this issue.
Okay, the truth of the matter was that when we went to school in the early 60s and the early 70s, the curriculum was guided by strong British guidance. Standards were not to be tampered with. From the primary school level, when you began from primary 1 to get to elementary 6, whether you were in a private school or a public school, the curriculum ensured that you came out and that you were prepared for secondary career. Whether you went to government college or you went to public college, private college, the curriculum ensured that there were standards. Oh no, it's terrible now. We have a system that admits nuances and sentiments. In Hope Model, there was a standard. You either make it or you don't make it. In any case, once you passed the entrance exam and went to Hope Model, from class 1, you knew that you were structured to make it. For you to have been able to be admitted to Hope Model, out of several thousands of young people in Nigeria, and we talk about poor governance. So we must, all of us stakeholders, must draw our leaders to come to the table. We must do that. Look at Hong Kong. They have been protesting for 17 weeks until the government hears them. The democratic government is for us. It's not governance by ministers, for ministers, and with ministers. It's no, no. So we must work hard, pray, and our people must rise up and say, no, I won't take this. I won't take this. We are paying for it. I'm paying my tax. We're paying tax. Why are we taking mediocre for products?
Yeah, there are several things that have come together to interplay to bring about a mixture of the type of students we produce today. One, like I told you, the intake into Nigerian universities, in spite of the fact that more universities were being established, the ratio of students versus lecturers began to rise faster than what we had before. For instance, I told you we were 25 in our class, so it meant you have a lecturer looking after 25 students. But gradually, you begin to see that the carrying capacity of most departments began to rise to such an extent that some will have up to 50, 100, 200, 300 students. And then the lecturer, the ratio between that and the students hardly changed. The lecturers were not being employed as many as one had that time. So you have one lecturer dealing with about 25, 30 students, 50 students in the 80s, and gradually you have moved to one lecturer dealing with 200, 300, and I'm told that in some universities where you have to take the general study courses, there are lecturers who are dealing with 1,000 or 2,000 students. And the facilities are not good enough. The facilities are not enough. The implosion of the population of students getting into the university is getting higher and higher and higher. Nigeria is a good country. I have had opportunity to travel to many other countries. And I have seen what facilities they have and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is that our country is still a good one. And what we need to do to help our young people who are coming up is, let's teach them values and discipline. Because a lot of these other countries that things are working, what makes things work there are values and discipline.
As mentioned earlier, most of the problems of education in Nigeria are as a result of inadequate funding and low budgetary allocations. To solve this problem, the government should make more funds available for all tiers of education in the country, with a view to making the school environment conducive for teaching and learning. Nonso Arinzechi for AD4 TV News.
That's it on the news this hour. Many thanks for watching. I am Lilian Ogazi.